Hey y'all, welcome to Fuel Up Wellness and happy Sunday to you. It's actually Tuesday for me, but as you can see, I've already decorated a little bit for Halloween and fall. I'm upstairs right now, this is our mantle upstairs, and I've got a little bit of our Halloween decorations up here. And I went very minimalistic with my fall decorations downstairs, which I'm gonna show you all of that too. And I know you're thinking, Madison, this is the weekly Fuel Up. Why are we talking about fall and it's September? Honestly, fall is my favorite time of the year. Really is my favorite time to decorate, to bake, and try new healthy treats. They kind of seem like a cheat, but they're not. So this week's weekly Fuel Up, that's what we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna bring you 2 recipes this week. The first one is a delicious pumpkin cinnamon roll, which is actually more like a muffin, but you can make them into cinnamon rolls, and I'm gonna show you a really simple recipe with that. Like, it doesn't take a lot of ingredients, doesn't take a lot of time, and they're delicious, and they keep for leftovers, so you can make them one day and have them for breakfast the rest of the week, or maybe even for a dessert at the end of the day after dinner or something like that. And then I'm also gonna bring my non-pumpkin lovers. If you don't like pumpkin, I have another recipe I'm gonna share with you that's not pumpkin, so that's gonna be our second one. And we are gonna do a delicious snickerdoodle coffee drink on the healthy side. And I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's gotta have so much sugar in it. No, it doesn't. And I cannot wait to bring you all of these recipes today. I'm gonna show you a little bit of our fall decorations because I know I love to see that. I hope you love to see that, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started with our recipes this week, and I'll meet you in the kitchen. Friends, so I've got everything that we need here ready to go. I'm gonna start with the coffee drink, and I feel like this is something that everybody's really gonna love. It's super simple, all of these ingredients here, and I'm gonna show you each individual ingredient and give you some tips if for some reason you wanna make this and you don't have everything on hand right now and you don't wanna make the trip to the store. There's a couple of other things that you can kick in there that will work just as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay friends, so here's what we have and what you need. You need either allspice, pumpkin spice, or just nutmeg and cinnamon. So those are a few options you can use here. You also need a 3/4 of a cup of some sort of nut milk, unsweetened nut milk. It doesn't have to be cashew. You can use coconut, you can use almond, literally whatever you want to use. Oat milk, it doesn't really matter. Then you need a mason jar with a lid. So not just a coffee cup, you actually need something with a lid, and I'll explain why. And then you also need a little bit of organic coconut sugar. My label is coming off, but that's what you need. And then just get you a couple of measuring cups out. So 3/4 of a cup and a tablespoon measuring cup, and you're ready to go. Only other thing that you need within the ingredients that you don't see here is 1/2 a cup of really strong brewed coffee. So okay friends, so here's the first thing you are going to do. Go ahead and put take your mason jar and take your milk, add 3/4 of a cup into your little mason jar here. So I'm not so worried about you looking at me versus the actual cup here, so that's why I've got you sat a little bit farther down. So we're gonna add that into our mason jar. I'm gonna add a little bit more because like I said, this was a 3/4 of a cup, and this measuring cup is only 1/3 of a cup. All right, so we're gonna add that in, And then your only other thing you're gonna add in is either your nutmeg and cinnamon, pumpkin spice, or allspice. It doesn't really matter which one you're gonna add. It's gonna go with a little bit of this allspice, and you're gonna sprinkle just a little bit in, like just the slightest bit. And then you're gonna take coconut sugar. You can also use organic brown sugar if you want to, but I recommend coconut sugar. All right, and you're gonna add about a teaspoon to a tablespoon. I'm gonna make sure that it's not super chunky, the little scoop that I get. So I'm gonna kind of shake it off. So this is about probably 2 teaspoons versus a whole tablespoon because I've kind of shaken it off some. I'm gonna add that into my milk, set that aside, and then I'm just gonna stir it together. Now, all you're gonna do is put this in the microwave for 1 whole minute, and we're gonna let it heat up, and then we'll go to our next step. Okay, so our milk is all done. I'm gonna get just a coffee cup. Doesn't matter, it can be a clear coffee cup. That would actually be really pretty. Doesn't matter what you do, but get a coffee cup, and I want you to get your milk out last. So we're gonna get a little bit of coffee into our coffee cup first, and that's strong brewed and ready to go. So I'm gonna pour that right on in. Perfect. And then we're gonna grab our milk. Be careful with your milk, it could be really hot. So you're gonna take your coffee to the side, put your mason jar lid on top of your mason jar, make sure it's pretty tight. You're gonna take a little towel, some sort of kitchen towel, just because it's gonna be hot, and you're gonna shake it up really good. Make sure it's nice and frothy. You can also use like a frother if you want to. Many different ways to do this, but I'm trying to make it as simple and easy and accessible as possible for everybody. There we go, it looks nice and frothy. Really, really yummy. Look at that, look at all that froth. Ooh, it's hot too, so that's what we want. All right, so we're gonna bring this over here. We're gonna take the lid off carefully because you've shaken it up. There's a lot of heat in there. It could just blow off the top. You don't want that to happen, so be very careful. And we're gonna take this right on off, and all I'm gonna do is pour this milk mixture right into that fresh brewed coffee. Yum, just like that. You're gonna give it a little bit of a stir. Perfect. Add a little bit of coconut sugar right on top, just a little pinch. And voila, there is your little snickerdoodle coffee, fresh brewed at home, super simple. You don't need a high-end coffee shop to make this, and you don't need to be a Brewster to make it, or not a Brewster, just kidding, a barista, excuse me, to make this. Super delicious. I hope you enjoy this. And now that our coffee's done, it's time for us to get started on our pumpkin cinnamon rolls. So let's enjoy this while we make our cinnamon rolls. So now that we have our yummy coffee to enjoy, it's time to make these pumpkin cinnamon rolls, or pumpkin cinnamon muffins, however you want to call it. They're kind of like pumpkin cinnamon buns, let's call it that. So you only need a few ingredients. I'm going to turn the camera around, show you everything. Before I get started though, I'm going to walk over here and go ahead and set my oven to 375 degrees and go ahead and let that be heating up while we're mixing up our cinnamon buns, and then we're going to pop them in the oven, and these will literally take no time to bake. All right, now that we've got our oven ready and set to 375 degrees, we're gonna let that heat up while we talk about our ingredients and get everything whipped up. And by the time we're done with that, we should be good. First things first, you need a good cupcake tin or a muffin tin. I've had this one for a long time, so you can definitely tell it's wear and tear, but it's a good one. You don't have to have cupcake liners, but I do recommend them because, things stick sometimes, and this is just gonna make your life a lot easier. You're only gonna need about 6. This recipe can be doubled, but this recipe is only gonna make about 6 of these. And then you're gonna need a little bit of baking powder. You're gonna need raw organic honey, or just raw honey. You could also use regular pancake syrup or pure maple syrup. Anything like that's gonna work. You need runny peanut butter. Now you notice this has like the film of the peanut oil on the top. You don't have to use peanut butter. You can use almond butter if you want to, if you have a nut allergy. I would recommend not going with this recipe, but you can use a different nut butter, but make sure that it is a creamy peanut butter. You don't want something that's like the standard, like terrible for you peanut butter that's in the store. Make sure you get a really good raw peanut butter with ingredients of literally peanuts and possibly salt. Either one. If it has both, great. If it doesn't have both, even better. Okay? Just peanuts is good. And you need a little bit of vanilla protein powder. We prefer this gem protein, the Tahitian vanilla, so good. But that's one of our favorites. And we also have some almond flour that you're gonna need, some egg whites, and then if you don't have almond flour and you wanna make it a little better, you can also use a really good protein-packed pancake mix, like the cinnamon oats. So either one will work. I just wanted to show you each option. So we're not gonna use both of these, you're just gonna use either or. So that's what we need. Let's get these whipped up. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is make sure that when you get pumpkin, you're not getting pumpkin pie mix. You're getting pure pumpkin. Pumpkin pie mix is a different consistency and it's got a lot of extra things on it or in it. You just want to make sure you get pure pumpkin because the ingredients in this are just organic pumpkin. That's all that you want in your pumpkin can. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, now let's get them whipped up. Okay, so first things first, we're actually gonna work with the pumpkin first. Pure pumpkin, I prefer organic pumpkin because I know it's good stuff. So I'm gonna get 1/4 of a cup of this pumpkin out of here. And you're probably, especially if you wanna double this recipe, you're gonna get probably a good 2 or 3 batches out of one can because it usually makes quite a bit. So you're gonna have plenty of that. And you're also gonna need 1/3 of a cup of egg whites. Now, if you don't have like a carton of egg whites, don't worry about that. Just get a couple of eggs that you have in the fridge. Take the egg yolk out and use that. Works just the same. And then now we're gonna use a little bit of either almond flour or you can use the cinnamon oat mix. Now you only need a tablespoon of this, so it doesn't, it's not gonna matter a whole lot which one you prefer to use. I'm actually gonna use the almond flour because it's probably more accessible to everybody. I'm gonna use that. You just need 1 tablespoon. You could also use coconut flour. Typically this recipe would call for coconut flour, but either one will work. I don't find that it matters which one you have or which one you prefer. So then we're gonna add a teaspoon of our baking powder. Just a teaspoon. And then we're gonna do 1.5 scoops, maybe 2 scoops of protein, depending on what you prefer. All right, so there's 1. And that's about 1.5. You don't have to be precise with your measurements with this because the more protein is not gonna hurt you for sure. So don't worry about being super precise, but get close to it. We're not gonna use our peanut butter and our honey yet because that is actually gonna go for our glaze because every cinnamon roll has got to have a glaze. What I do like to do is add a little bit of cinnamon to this too, especially if you're not using like that cinnamon oat pancake mix. I like mine to be a little extra cinnamony. So this is an option. You do not have to do this option. It is totally up to you, but that's what I prefer. Now let's grab us a whisk or a spatula and get those whipped together. To recognize is it's gonna be or seem like it's gonna be a little bit dry once you start folding things in and once you start mixing. That's why I like to start with the whisk and then kind of break everything out of the whisk and start stirring with a spatula. If you feel like you need to add anything to this, if it's just too dry, which depends on how much protein powder and things like that you put in there, add just like a teeny bit, maybe like a tablespoon of more of your pumpkin in and start mixing in, and it should be good to go. But 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna have to do that. But if you do feel it's a little dry, because that's happened to me sometimes, you can always add a little bit more if you need to. All right, so we're all set. Everything's all mixed together. Looks nice and orange. So we're gonna take our our baking sheet. We're gonna grab a little bit of oil, spray the cup, because that's super important because you don't want anything to stick. So I like to spray the cups as well, just a little bit, not anything too. We're gonna take this spatula, and I like to get, you can use like a cupcake spoon or like a small ice cream scoop or something like that if you want to. I just like to do it this way because they're not necessarily gonna come out super rounded over on the top every time. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It also is gonna depend on your oven a little bit there too. So we're gonna slowly help that one out. And like I said, this is not gonna make a full pan of muffins. So if you wanna double this recipe, go ahead and do that because it will work just fine. But I would highly recommend that if you're gonna double the recipe, don't double it together in the same bowl, if that makes sense. Like make one batch in one bowl, another batch in another bowl, just in case you get overboard with anything. You don't wanna ruin your whole batch that you're working on and then have to go back and start all over. All right, so we're gonna get these last few in there. Now you can leave it like this if you want to, or you can add a little bit of coconut sugar sprinkled over on the top if you want to. I'm not gonna do that though because I am gonna make the glaze, and I don't feel like you need extra on top, but if you feel like you want to, totally fine. Our oven is all set, we're ready to go, so we're gonna take you with me. And I'm gonna take you over to the oven. We're gonna pop them in. We're gonna let these bake for 10 minutes. That's all it needs. 10 minutes, and if you need a couple of extra minutes, go ahead and do that. But you wanna make sure that you take a toothpick, stick it inside and pull it out, and the toothpick is clean. But if it needs more than 10 minutes, go at like 2-minute increments after you've put it in for 10 full. So we'll pop these in and then we'll get started with our glaze, and that will be ready as soon as they come out, and we'll go ahead and top them off. Super simple, easy to do. First thing in the morning, maybe like for a brunch, for Saturday or Sunday morning for the kiddos, or for your adults in your house. So let's get these all finished up because I can't wait. Try this again. Sometimes it takes a couple of extra minutes, and that's okay. So I added 5 extra minutes on, so it's been in there for about 15 minutes at this point. So I'm gonna take my toothpick again, stick it right down inside. Oh yeah, completely done, perfect. So we're gonna kind of let these hang out, but here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take them out and put them on a drying rack. If you don't have a drying rack, that's okay. Just take them off, put them on a cold plate, something to where they can cool down really well. But as they're cooling down, we're gonna put the glaze on top. So this is the kind of rack I'm talking about, just like a baking rack. You can actually, if you don't wanna spend a lot on these, I know sometimes these can be fairly expensive, not like crazy expensive, but they can be a little more than what you may want to spend. You can find cheap little ones at the Dollar Tree. So if you want to do this on a super budget, you can do it on a super budget. So I'm going to sit those down right in front, and all I'm going to do is take them out one at a time, very carefully, so that you don't burn yourself. Take a little bowl, and you're gonna take your runny peanut butter. Make sure it needs to be runny. So use that. If you want to use this kind, just make sure you stir the top. If you actually store your peanut butter upside down in your cupboard, it will not have that film when you open your jar. So you can do that too. So I'm gonna take about 2 good-sized tablespoons, like 2 hefty tablespoons. And then take your honey, your pure maple syrup, or your pancake syrup, if that's what you have. And you're gonna take about a good tablespoon of that. Perfect. We're the only two eating these. We're the only two that live here and eat out of this, so no worries there. Now I just want you to mix it together and mix it really, really well. Now the only other thing that you might want to add is maybe just a little bit of cinnamon, or if you want to add a little bit of vanilla in there, you can do that too, just for a little extra kick, just a teeny bit, not very much, just maybe like 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then you're going to mix that up again together. Perfect. And this is going to be our glaze for our cinnamon rolls. So let's grab us a plate. Tim, we're gonna serve these up right now because you want them to be nice and warm. So we're gonna take one of our little tins here, or our little muffins in its little cupcake tin, and you put what you want on top. And once you get it on top of there, just kind of dollop it on top, and then you're just gonna swirl it around as if you were kind of icing a cupcake. And voila, there is your beautiful pumpkin buns, cinnamon buns. They're so easy. They're protein packed. They're super delicious, healthy, clean eating recipe ingredients. Really, really good stuff. Each one of these is only about a little over 100 calories per cinnamon bun. So that's much better than what is your standard pumpkin cinnamon roll or your standard cinnamon roll. So these are delicious. Make these. They don't take long. They take a few ingredients that you probably already have, and I'm sure your kids will enjoy these too. So enjoy this recipe. If you try it, please let us know. You can send us a message on our email address, or you could also use our hashtags. We have 2 of those. We have hashtag the weekly fuel up as well as hashtag fuel up wellness. So you can send both of those, tag those. I'd love to see what you're making and if you enjoy these. And then if you have anything else for recommendations that you want to see with recipes, let me know, because we can make those as well. So have a great rest of your week, everybody. Enjoy this recipe, enjoy the coffee recipe, and we will talk to you next week. Fuel up.